Everyone in Washington and probably around the country is talking about this interview last night where adult film actress Stormy Daniels told 60 Minutes she had a one-time affair with now President Trump that resulted in a $130,000 payment to stay silent from Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, just before the election. During talks to sell her story to tabloids in 2011, Daniels says she was threatened not to.
I was in a parking lot going to a fitness class with my infant daughter. I was taking, the seats facing backwards in the back seat, diaper bag, getting all the stuff out. And a guy walked up on me and said to me, "Leave Trump alone, forget the story." And then he leaned around and looked at my daughter and said, "It's a beautiful little girl. It'd be a shame if something happened to her mom." And then he was gone.
Daniels says she signed the non-disclosure deal for her family's safety and that she signed 3 subsequent statements denying the affair, including 2 in January, because she was scared of the consequences. She now says those were false. Cohen and the White House have said the president denies a relationship with Daniels, and Cohen's attorney sent a letter to Daniels' attorney calling for a cease and desist over what he calls defamatory statements. The White House just announcing that in response to that nerve agent attack in UK of a former Russian spy earlier this month, the U.S. is taking action and expelling 60 Russian diplomats, 48 of them from the Russian embassy, 12 from the Russian mission to the UN in New York, and the White House is also moving to close the Russian consulate in Seattle.
Bitcoin falling below 8,000 on the Coinbase exchange. Twitter saying today it'll officially ban all crypto-related ads. There had been reports of that earlier last week, but we see the impact here. 79.19 is where Bitcoin is trading right now.
Thank you, Wilf, and welcome to the Closing Bell, everybody. I'm Kelly Evans. Monster day on Wall Street to kick off the week here. Dow going up with more than 670-point gain. We are up nearly 700 points at the highs of the session in the final hour. That's 2.85% higher for the Dow. As you can see there, third biggest point gain in history, and it's actually the biggest percentage gain since August of 2015. Remember what a difficult slog that was for a time. No, now I'm thinking of August 2011, Mike. Time flies. Anyway, biggest percentage gain in a couple of years. The S&P 500 up 70 points today to 2658. Look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ finished higher by 3.25% to close back above 7,000 after giving that level up last week. 72.20 for the NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000, the laggard, but you can hardly call it that, up 2.25% itself.
The White House is investigating 2 loans that were made to Jared Kushner's real estate business. Kayla Tausche joins us with more on that story. Kayla, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Becky. That set of loans was made to the Kushner Companies, which is the Kushner family business that Jared Kushner separated himself with. But the interesting thing is that they were made by banks whose executives had met with Jared Kushner at the White House. And those are the loans that are under scrutiny. That's what an official tells Reuters. The Office of Government and Ethics is investigating the loans, which total just more than $500 million that were made by Citigroup and Apollo this summer. We'll see where that investigation goes. A few headlines, Wilfred, on trade from the White House press briefing that just ended. The most notable, that Press Secretary Sarah Sanders confirmed that an agreement in principle had been made on trade between the U.S. and South Korea. There is a 5-year free trade agreement in place, but the president moved to renegotiate that middle of last year. That negotiation has been underway. South Korea has also been seeking a permanent exemption from the steel and aluminum tariffs, so those issues are likely tied together. Sanders said we could see an announcement on that very soon, as she could not provide any additional details on that.
Former Cambridge Analytica contractor Christopher Wiley testifying to Parliament this morning on the company's role in the Facebook data scandal. Our Wilfred Frost joins us now with the latest. Wilfred.
Morgan, before we get to specifically what he said, we also learned today that Mark Zuckerberg has said he will not appear in front of UK Parliament's Digital Culture, Media and Sports Committee. The chair, Damien Collins, had this to say about that.
Given the extraordinary evidence we've heard so far today and the things we've heard in the other inquiry, I think it is absolutely astonishing that Mark Zuckerberg is not prepared to submit himself to questioning in front of a parliamentary or congressional hearing, given that these are questions of the fundamental importance and concern to Facebook users and as well as to our inquiry.
Zuckerberg has said he will send either Chief Technology Officer Mike Schropfer or Chief Product Officer Chris Cox. As he's not a UK resident, UK citizen, he can't be compelled to appear. This comes as whistleblower Chris Wiley appeared in front of that committee, saying it was Donald Trump's election victory that made him come forward when he realized the power behind what he had done. He had this to say about the relationship between Facebook and Cambridge Analytica.
It is categorically untrue that Cambridge Analytica has never used Facebook data. Facebook data and the acquisition using Alexander Kogan's app was the foundational data set of the company. That is how the algorithms were developed.
Cambridge maintains it did not use Facebook data and deleted what data it did have in 2015 when requested to do so by Facebook, adding by tweet today that, quote, Christopher Wiley was a part-time contractor who left in July 2014 and has no direct knowledge of our work or practices since that date.
And right now we have some breaking news. Facebook making some changes to its data and privacy tools. Deirdre Bosa joins us right now from San Francisco. She has the details on that. Deirdre.
Hey, good morning, Becky. That's right. Changes to make these tools easier to find and access. The company's chief privacy officer and deputy general counsel, outlining these changes in a post saying, quote, the last week showed how much more work we need to do to enforce our policies, and we have heard loud and clear that privacy settings and other important tools are too hard to find, and we must do more. Now, they include a redesign of the entire settings menu on mobile devices. Before, get this, it was spread across nearly 20 different screens. Now they're going to be on a single page. Also includes a new privacy shortcuts menu and tools to find, download, and delete your Facebook data, including data that users have already shared with the platform. Now, the post concludes by saying that there will be more changes to come. Of course, Facebook is facing blow after blow in the wake of the Cambridge Analytica data scandal, from an FTC probe to its stock cratering to losing the trust of its users and potentially advertisers. So now the company trying to reassure the public that it is listening, and this represents the first concrete changes to the actual platform since the scandal broke.
Ivan Elin back with us, senior fellow and director of the Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute. And we saw those pictures of Kim Jong-un with President Xi there in China. Do you see that as real progress in trying to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula, or should we be skeptical still?
Well, I think this was a major message to both the South Koreans and especially President Trump that China has mended its fences with North Korea. They were had a lot of tension over the North Korean nuclear and missile programs. China was not happy with North Korea, but apparently they've mended their fences in advance of this meeting that Trump is going to have with Kim. And I think there was a very telling comment. China is sending a message, I think. It said, President Xi of China said that their friendship with North Korea was a strategic decision that would continue under any circumstances. So I think they're worried with Bolton that there's going to be a war, and I think they're giving us a message that they're going to back North Korea.
Welcome back to the Halftime Report. I'm Jackie DeAngelis. Bitcoin closing in on a death cross. Its shorter-term moving average close to dipping below its longer-term one. This comes as Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures fall below 8,000. Grizz, let's go ahead and start with you. What does this mean for the cryptocurrency going forward?
This isn't good, Jackie. There's regulation and the threat of more regulation. And let's face it, unless there's a widespread application for Bitcoin or any of the other cryptocurrencies, these markets are ruled by speculation right now.
President Trump just tweeting, I have stated my concerns with Amazon long before the election. Unlike others, they pay little or no taxes to state and local governments. They use our postal system as their delivery boy, causing tremendous loss to the U.S., and are putting many thousands of retailers out of business. Amazon was affected this week. There you can see it. That's actually, yeah, that's just today. That's today. Where it was up. It was rebounding a lot more earlier.
This comes after Sarah Sanders just said yesterday that there are no potential plans in place for any of this, any regulation that she's aware of. Interesting that this Trump tweet comes just after Sanders making those comments yesterday. So he's not willing to let it go.
To Kayla Tausche at the White House with breaking news. Kayla.
Michelle, the president is making a speech about infrastructure and his proposal that was introduced just a couple of months ago. He's making that speech in rural Ohio, where he just told the audience that the effort is currently stalled. He said we're going to have to wait until after the election, referencing the midterms, months ahead of which, of course, Congress has a shortened attention span and very little legislatively can get done. He mentions that there is no Democratic support for it at present and says we'll have to wait until after the election, which he says is not that long. But this is certainly new, because we had believed that this was a priority that the White House was going to try to push through at some point this year. But it seems that they are going to re-rack this for 2019.
The NASDAQ today, the tech-heavy NASDAQ that has led markets higher, up the best part of 2%, slipping a little bit from its highs, over 2%. The S&P and Dow up more like 1.5% today. Though let's just zoom a bit out, because of course it's the end of the week, month and quarter as well. NASDAQ 1 week chart down 0.5% or so coming into today, will therefore end the week up more than 1%. So pretty good despite that volatility we've seen in the tech sector. Zooming out now to the month, we've got the S&P 1 month chart. All three of the indices going to be down about 3.5% for the month as a whole. The S&P is in fact the best of the three indices, the Dow the worst for the month, the NASDAQ somewhere in between. If we look at the sector performance for the month, we've got 9 out of 11 of the sectors lower for the month. In fact, 8 out of 11 are lower. And you can see utilities, real estate at the top. Financials are near the bottom. So there's definitely been an interest rate impact over the course of the month.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.